So this, when we look
Okay,
at somebody's looking east,
so this is another map that's a little more detailed, but it doesn't go out as far as the other map. So some of the waypoints that I have on it, or some of the things that I filmed are not on this waypoint sign, or you know, they're farther out. That's why I got the other map. But like I said, this one's a little more detailed. It shows you, okay, like the channel line going out and the waypoints that are there. And then I have to kind of go up this way. And there's where Bayport is right there. And it goes out to these other waypoints. And they give you little markers on them that show you what's what. But this one has the squares going in a diagonal line, if you notice. So it's a little deceptive, and it kind of deceives you compared to the other map. I also have to go by this, which gives you nautical miles and land miles, standard miles. So if we go by standard miles, which is a shorter distance than nautical miles, that is also confusing. And I had to put my camera here on an angle because that is on an angle. But let me see if I can find the waypoint. Here's the waypoint chart for the waypoints. So I hope that's coming in where you can read it. So you go back up here to, say, Hernando Beach area, and there's the channel going out, and it goes a little bit toward the north as it goes out. And then here's your Hernando or Bayport, one that goes out, and then it goes a little bit on a northern angle further out you go. But these are the things that I've been trying to show, and this map wouldn't go out far enough to show those other bird racks that I got. So that's why I purchased the other navigation map. But again, like I say, it isn't as detailed. But if we take both of these, and I gotta shut that shit off behind me, Lori, the big mouth, which, I mean, actually, she got me upset. I had to stop watching that because I was getting angry, and I don't need to get angry. But, you know, again, this is why I had to use that other map. And each square on it was a mile. So it took 5 little squares to make 5 miles. 10 miles was 10 squares, and so on. And that map went out to 100 miles out, which, you know, you can imagine looking at a flat surface of 100 miles. It would be virtually impossible for somebody to render an object out that far, or render anything that went out 100 miles when you are the bug on the flat surface. So again, you know, I'm trying to give proof on the distances that I am filming, and the one bird rack is 8 miles away, actually a little bit over depending on where I'm at, but I'm only a few hundred yards difference from one area of Bayport that I filmed to the other area. One of them's at a little park that's right there at Bayport, and one of them's at the fishing pier. So again, you know, as I look at these waypoints and marks, I can get measurements, and it's kind of hard to show on a camera, you know, these markers. So, you know, what I'd suggest for people to do is purchase a navigation map of my area if they want to use my footage for proof, because that's what I'm doing. I'm using my footage from where I'm standing at, which is no more than 4 to 5 feet most of the time. I shouldn't be able to visually see 10 foot of a bird rack sticking up 8 miles out, and I'm visually seeing 10 foot of a bird rack. I mean, I should be being cut off. And I will say some days I can't even film those areas. Why? Because of the light. The light from the sun and the miraging effect, the mirroring effect, refracts the light upward or deflects the light upward, so it actually creates like a blockage, and you do not see anything above the visible water line, which beyond that visible water line is a mirroring, and that mirroring is what hides objects further out, and my videos proved it to me. I have no reason to try to prove anything to anybody. I've been trying to prove this to myself, and I have acquired tons of footage of what I'm saying. And when you go by the curvature of Earth calculator, I should not be able to see even a sign that's past this 8-mile bird rack. I shouldn't be able to see that sign at all, but here I am standing on the shoreline filming it, and the highest my tripod stands up is 5.5 feet, and sometimes I have it on the lower setting, which is less than that. And yes, when I'm standing on the over by the Bayport fishing pier, I do have a seawall that I'm standing on, but I've actually dropped my camera all the way down to a 2-foot mark when the water was less than 3 feet under the seawall, and I've got it at times where it was even where the water was actually coming over the seawall, and you can find that footage, or I don't know if I made that unlisted or not, but I've made some videos unlisted and some videos not. So in turn, I just try to give people the best information I can with what I'm observing. So believe me, folks, I'm not trying to prove this to you. I'm trying to prove it to myself. Because who else do I have to prove it to? Numero uno, me. I don't follow along with all the claims that all the flat earthers make, and that's the mistake that some people do, is they follow along with all the claims, and sometimes those claims can be very wrong. And I'm not going to follow along with something that doesn't match my common senses. I mean, we have 5 senses. Actually, I say 6, because our common sense is our 6th sense. And if you can't use that common sense, then what the hell good is it for? Okay? So use some common sense, clouds behind the sun and the moon. Come on, people. Freaking camera, man. The light's going to bleed through all those thinner, less dense clouds. So by just using your common sense of that method, these clouds are not going behind the sun and the moon. Plain and simple. Common sense should tell you that. High altitude balloon flights should tell you that. So, these people that are making those claims are actually the ones that are causing a lot of people to just turn away from the flat earth theory, or the flat earth, the globe theory, the square map theory, the diamond shaped theory. They square the circle, and you can see the squares on this map that show you that they are squaring the circle of life. Our circle of life, people. Where you live. And, is there land beyond our circle? That remains to be seen. There could be. I keep an open mind to that, but I sure to hell ain't going to believe stuff that other people make claims for that are not provable. Alright. Not sure what this is. A fishing code, and what this is that my waypoint thing? I'm not sure. No, this is my waypoint table, and that's what we have to go by for this particular map. Alright, well, I'm going to try to use this footage for proving my point, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, let me see if I can't get this right here. Get it focused right here. That's the problem. It's focusing in on these waypoints. Because those are what are important. Let's see here. I'm trying. And honestly, I don't know if I even trust this map as far as being exact. But these first waypoints here, we will find, I think all the way down to, you know, from 1 to 7, I believe, is what we're going to be looking for. And the problem also, like I say, is trying to keep this camera focused. There's Arepica, and you know, the more I zoom in, the harder it is to focus the camera. Wow. Let's see if I can get it on a decent focus. It'll probably come out better. The TV screen. And you see Bayport, boat ramp. And then you see these Bayport channel marker. And then you go out here to some of these other ones. Got little lines, arrows pointing to them. And the one that I'm concerned about right there is that one that's offshore. And then these other couple right here down by Hernando Beach area. There's some bird racks there, and they're all marked. And what you can do is count those little squares. Little squares are going to go by this nautical miles. And every little every square is going to take about 6 squares to equal 5 miles. 12 squares to equal 10 miles. Again, I'm having a hard time focusing in on this map to show my point of view here. Well, hopefully I can see them on my TV screen and be able to point them out and show you where I'm standing at. On occasions, there's 2 places I normally stand, and some days I can see these and then some days I can't due to refraction, refracting that light upward and blocking out things, so it does not pull things up behind a curve. It actually blocks things out that are on the flat plane. Okay. So I'm just trying to get a good view of this, and then we can use this scale right here that shows the waypoints and markers. It even has the GPS numbers, which you know, maybe I can take some pictures too of this and get a better focus on them and try that also. whichever works the best. Alright everybody, this shows the nautical miles. You know, I just want to talk a little bit too, and just give you my these map coordinates and the nautical miles compared to statute miles. Statute miles are a little shorter, and I don't know why they got to go to nautical miles out over the water and not use the statute miles. If you use the statute miles, these are actually out a lot farther. I don't know if they're trying to, you know, just deceive us with this nautical miles, or deceive us with the statute miles. You know, who knows? But then again, you know, I've showed a lot of my videos, and I've been doing this for like 2.5 years now, and you know, it really gets me that you know, I understand you know, refraction, diffraction. I've researched them, the mirroring, miraging, atmospheric lensing, and how light hits the water, different angles, wherever the sun is positioned in the sky, the way the light is, you know, hitting the water in comparison to where your location is from the sun, all plays a role in what we see and how it mirrors off the water, or how it causes mirroring off the water. And you know, for 2.5 years now, I've been doing a lot of observational videos out over this water, and I've done it mainly for other people to get familiar with the area, the markers and everything. But you know, I do find that a lot of people aren't using you know, my footage, which is okay, and I understand that there's, you know, a lot of people out here doing things and you know, making claims and whatnot, and I'm just trying to you know, show people that I'm not bullshitting you when I say I know these waters. I've fished them for over 25 years now, so I'm very, very familiar with these waters. And my main goal was to prove the plane, the flat earth to myself. And throughout all my observational videos, I said, man, you know, I get so many different effects out there. It is crazy. But when I get a good visual day, I see things that I should not see. And I'm going to show you on this next picture of where I stand with the arrows. The pink arrow is going to show you where I'm standing. The yellow arrow is where Bayport Bird Rack is. And the orange arrow is the North Rack, and that North Rack is 8 miles away. And I have footage, video footage, that I will be showing you where I'm standing no higher than 5 feet off the water with my camera. I even got some pictures to show how high my camera is actually set, and the water is approximately, you know, probably a little less than a foot below my camera where I have it set at. But I'll be showing that video here a little bit later on, and show you that I'm not trying to deceive anybody. And the only way that I could actually give proof is to purchase these navigation maps. No, they weren't that expensive. You know, 20 bucks each approximately. You know, my whole thing was proving this to myself, and then sharing it with others. So anybody that can use any of my footage, feel free to do so. Right here I put a little arrow on this map so you can see approximately where I'm standing at doing these videos. And you know, it's kind of hard to show on this bigger map because it isn't quite as detailed. And I've got some you know, the first map I showed was a smaller map, but it didn't go as far out into the Gulf as what that North Rack marker was. So I had to purchase this map so I could actually show it. These are some other waypoints down toward Hernando Beach area that I also catch on film, and they are long distances away too. So, you know, throughout my research, my observational videos, I've proved it to myself, and you know, I don't have to prove it to nobody. Like I said in the beginning, I don't need to prove it really to nobody but myself. But you know, I like sharing my work, and you know, I don't do a lot of sharing of my research only because I really don't have the computer skills to do it. I don't have the right programs to do it. I don't have Photoshop or anything. All I got is a Filmora program so I can convert my videos to go on YouTube. Yeah, it's got brightness, saturation, um, contrast, and hue. Well, you never use the hue. And then it has auto enhance and denoise. I do use the auto enhance denoise sometimes because it takes it, you know, like I'm doing these pictures. The main waypoints that I'm looking for is 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9 are the main waypoints that I'm concerned with, because I believe that those are the ones that I'm actually catching and filming at you know, long distances. So hopefully you can see it. Map real quick. I've got it handy here. If I can find it real quick here. I know it's on here. Probably looking at the wrong side of it. So, yeah, I'm looking at 3, 4, 5, 6. Not so much 7, because I think it's being blocked out behind the little point that sticks out south of me. 8 is way up in Chassahowiska. I don't really worry so much about that. But 9 is Cutter's Rock. I believe I see that at some point too, especially toward the evening time when the channel lights start flashing. Some days I can see it, some days I can't. And it's due to having better visibility. So that's one thing that I do also take into consideration is our visibility. And when we have a lot of atmospheric conditions, you cannot see past it because it causes a lot of miraging. And I like to kind of theorize possibly atmospheric mirroring, where the mirroring, the light reflecting off the water causes the mirror to rise up on a certain degree, and it is what blocks out the lower bottoms of the hull. In a lot of my videos, you can see this mirroring line just above the visible water, and that is what blocks out a lot of what you don't see, what you can't see, the bottoms of buildings, the bottoms of boats, so on and so forth. All right, I got a little video coming up here. I'll let it talk, or audio. It's out better on my cell phone than it did on my camera itself. And I'm going to try to zoom in right here on these. I'm on camera. And then go out here. And hopefully these waypoint numbers come up and show on here what the waypoint number is. Now each one of these little squares is equivalent to 1 mile. So you can see where I'm at there at Bayport. The Bayport bird rack is 3 nautical miles, which I think it's actually 4 point something statute miles. And that's what's deceptive about a lot of these maps. You know, whether they're shortening the land or whether they're enlarging the water, I'm not quite sure, but I know that there's a deception going on, because even my GPS is different. Alright, I took a couple more little snapshots off of that little video, because it worked out a little bit better with my cell phone than it did with my P900. Don't ask me why. Maybe it was just the lighting or whatever. My phone doesn't pick up all that glare quite as bad. But next, I'm gonna put out some footage here that I did one day, and I'm gonna show the height of my camera with the first couple of videos off my cell phone. I'm locating where my camera was set, how high it was set off the water, and how high my camera actually sets at that particular height of my tripod. So I'll put a couple of pictures of that too, so you see how high my tripod is and what the height of the camera is, and then add on a little less than probably a foot from the water that my camera was off of it. So you got 1 foot plus the 48 inches, which it probably could have been a little less than 5 feet. I think it actually was, but I'll let you be the judge and let you see with your own eyes, and then you can tell. All right, here's a 48-inch ruler. You can see just a little bit above that is where my center of my lens would be. And then, like I said, in the footage coming up, the water is actually, like I said, I don't think it was quite a foot lower than the bottom of my tripod, but I'll give it a foot, so we'll make it an even 5 feet, so you can use that as a reference point for figuring out on the curvature chart. I have that too, and I put that in at I think 5 feet, and it was supposed to be like 18 feet below the curve. There's no way that it is 18 foot below the curve, especially if you take into perspective in a certain couple spots. And I'll show you the area that I'm talking about when it gets to that point in the video. But first, I'm going to establish with my cell phone footage basically where my camera was sitting at this particular day that I was filming. And then I'll show you some footage from that day. And I'm going to probably cut a bunch of it just so I can shorten up this video because it's already long enough. I'm sitting right here. Let's see where my tripod's not all the way down. It's at one of the shorter settings. Water's not far off here. So I'm no more than 5 feet off the water. Let's see if I can find this boat in here again. There he is. I don't think you can see it. I'm going to step back. Give you a good idea where I'm at. So my camera's under the seawall, down below the seawall. Okay. Alright, just wanted to establish that. Alright, looking with the camera, it is a little deceptive trying to figure the distance out between the water and the bottom of my camera, but I pretty much assure you it was no more than a foot. No more than a foot below my camera. Like I said, it's kind of looks a little deceiving when you're looking down at it, especially with a cell phone, but this is one of the things. I'm not lying to myself. Why the hell would I lie to myself? Through all the research and all the observations that I've done, I'm out here for truth. I'm not out here to lie to myself. Okay, so I'm not going to be lying to who's ever watching this video either. So you can take my word for it, or just bah. Alright, right here in this footage, watch as this boat, you can see it mirroring in the water, and then later on you don't see all the mirroring, and that is due to the angle of light that's hitting the water toward my camera at this moment. A bird right there. There's perspective for you. A little bird just blocking out that whole big boat back there. And look at here. Here little birdie's sitting there.
Now, I didn't zoom back all the way either, so just to let you know, I could have zoomed back further and that bird would have looked a lot smaller too. Now, that first rack you see there is Bill Watts' tripod, or it's a bird rack, put it to you that way. Now, you can see this is no longer in that mirroring effect as bad.
See, that boat's going away from me. The angle that he's going on. I am going to establish where my camera's sitting at here. With my cell phone. I gotta get it out. Let me back this up a little bit here. Okay, I'm sitting right here. Let's see where my...
Alright, what you're hearing is me turning on my phone, and that's part of that one video that I did on my cell phone. Just showing you where my tripod and my camera was setting at, how high it was off the water. And then you'll hear it click again, and you'll probably hear the same audio twice. But you know, my main goal is to just show, like that bird rack is, I believe it was Bill Steele's rock or rack, whatever you want to call it. And that's a good distance away too. You can see that on the waypoints. That was waypoint 4, I believe. And if you look at my crazy ass boat ride video, it was the day that I actually drove around to all these bird racks and took pictures of them. I also took GPS readings off of them, but like I said before, I had an issue with my GPS. It's old. It's got somehow or another, it's got lines all in it. And that rack right there is Cutter's Rock. That's quite a ways offshore. And of course, you know, because of perspective, it's gonna look much like it's being cut off, because there is some mirroring going on there. But I have other days where I actually have better footage of that rack. And here's another bird for perspective reasons. How this little bird can block out that whole boat just due to perspective. All right. And that bird is not very high off the water, definitely not as high off the water as that boat, but of course it actually looked like it was towering over that boat. Now I'm going to let it get back to the regular audio, and that Cutter's Rock was waypoint number 9 on my chart or my maps. Alright, I'll let it get back to the regular audio.
I had a wireless remote, it'd be a little bit better. It'd be so much shaking. .644 sunset, and I'm going to try to do a time lapse on it. Maybe just a zoom with the solar lens on it.
Alright, you know, I cut in sometimes. I kind of want to say my piece. Now, you can see that this boat is well above in the angle that it's going away from me. It's actually going away. And, you know, I can say a lot about parallel lines that eventually, if you run two parallel lines out, they will look like they cross each other or come to a point. And that's what perspective is. Now, see all these little markers out in the water? They put these out there to mark some grass, seagrass that they planted out there that really never amounted to nothing, but I'm sure we paid big tax dollars for that. But that's beside the point. We're always getting our money wasted on frivolous shit. But you can still see that this boat is well above the water, and you can actually see that this boat is just getting smaller and smaller due to perspective and not due to going over any curvature of Earth. And that's the thing, that line that's just above the water line is that mirroring line, and when it gets to that certain point, that mirroring line and the waves that are closer, my camera can resolve, but the waves that are further out, it can't. Like, you can still see the wake of the boat splashing water up, but it's going to get to a certain point where you no longer can see those waves because those waves are in that mirroring area. And that mirroring area does not allow you to see anything past it. Now you can kind of see another line just a little bit underneath the water line itself, that horizon line, and that's actually another place where a lot of times between that line and the boat, it's all nothing but mirror. And you can look at a lot of my other footage that does show that. Okay, so take that into consideration also.
That's usually where the mirroring starts. And I have mirroring issues. Oh, he's even turning back the other way away from me. Oh yeah, so he's going back to the south, which might be good. So he's going further away from me, and then now he's going even farther away by going further south. Now there is a little mirroring line there, just at the edge of the water. You can see it. Look how the water is like moving like the edge of the moon.
One of the things I try to tell people is try to pay attention to the smaller details that you will see in some of my videos. I think that they do help you understand perspective and this mirroring, miraging effect that occurs.
Here's a good example of this. Water that's right at the bottom of the screen is much closer. And then as you move out toward the boat, it's all that water is compressed, so there's miles in that little strip of water right there. And people don't realize that little strip of water is miles. I might try to use this one and do a little graph lines on it to show you what I'm talking about.
I don't think I need to put graph lines in it. I think they're pretty obvious that you can see these water lines that are out there. And some of these, like I say, this is sometimes depending on the angle of the sun, these are the areas that start miraging first or mirroring the sky first. And that's what I see a lot, is there's water further back there, but it's just mirroring the sky. So a lot of times in some of my footage, it just looks like the boat is flying in the sky. And it's not. It's still on the water.
Parallax. Something that goes by closer will zoom right by my camera, while something farther away is moving a lot slower.
Okay, see that little buoy marker right there? That's a crab trap buoy. Look how the water at this angle
And it's
and the
Halloween
waves
night.
are hiding it. Every now and then it looks like it's going underwater, and you even get a little fish jump right there. But this is how things work further out in the water. That water is blocking things out.
I'm going to zoom back in on them. I got 2.5 minutes approximately here. Wish I would have brought this telephoto lens. What's really weird is I can actually see water beyond this boat in my camera, but I don't know how it will show up on the computer. If you'll see that thin blue line above the water line here.
Okay, this might not be Cutter's Rock out there, but whatever it is a rack. It is a bird rack. You can see birds fly up on it. And you also got to take in perspective. And like I said, too, I have other footage of this rack on different days where it is appears much higher in the water, and I really don't have my tripod much higher than what it is now in comparison to the height of the water. But now, you know, you might think that this boat is going behind the curve, but it's actually just going behind the waves. It is the waves that are blocking it out. And why is because my camera can resolve. It can render those closer waves, but it cannot render any waves farther out. So it will give you the appearance that this boat is sinking. Now, it's going by this rack here, which I think this one is Bill Steele's rack, and it is well beyond it. It's going behind that rack by quite a few miles. Now, this boat, if anything, should have already gone over the curvature of Earth. I shouldn't even be able to see it right now. So take that into consideration. And I got more to show, and I'm going to continue to show them until people do understand what perspective actually is.
That's as best as I can get it now, guys. How tiny that boat is now. Dude, I'm telling you, I shouldn't see that boat that tiny. Look, you can still see its masks. and it's having a hard time rendering it, resolving it. It's hoping to get into the sun here shortly. Maybe that'll make a little bit of a difference.
I can guarantee you one thing. I cannot see this boat with my naked eye at all. So as far as my eyes are concerned, this boat has already gone bye-bye over the curvature of Earth. But I guarantee you that this boat is a hell of a lot farther than 7 miles, 8 miles out there. It's a long distance out there. I can't tell you exactly how far it is because I don't have communication with the guy on the boat. But I know that just from being out on the water that this boat is a lot farther away from me than what most people think. Again, as you see these water lines out there, these are areas that are sometimes being are mirroring. And if you watch some of my other videos, sometimes you'll see these boats get so distorted that you can't even make them out, and they're just this little blob of white light that just vanishes into the distance. It vanishes into the light. And this is the same thing that's happening here. It's going beyond you know, into that vanishing zone. It's turning invisible. You can hardly even see the boat. You can hardly see the mast. So this isn't due to it going over the curvature. This is due to all that water that's right there in front of it that my camera can render is blocking out the rest of that boat. And look at the edges of that water. It is very strange. And again, if you go by my charts, and there's another one of them buoy markers out there too you can look at and see how it bobs up and down and how it gets hidden due to the angle that I'm at to it and how small it actually is. That could actually be some rocks too right there, not a buoy marker, but the same thing happens. Some of these things get blocked out, and look at the size of this boat going by. And look how that wake of that boat just blocked out even more. Now it's just gone pretty much into that vanishing zone, and you're not going to see any more of it. That's it. It's done. And then look at the bird fly across where he's kind of like in and out, underneath the mirror, above the mirror, underneath the mirror, above the mirror. And I see a lot of that in a lot of my footage where the birds will appear and disappear in mid-flight as they're flying across the screen. That means that there's something blocking it out. Blocking it out, people. Use your eyes and use that common sense that you do have to really think about what you're seeing in my videos. My observational videos really do show me a lot, and they are what made me a believer in the plane. I don't like the word believe, but how about knowing in the plane? I know about this plane, and we live on it. We live in a plane of existence. And this might be the part where I start shooting the sun, and I want to cut this part out only because, again, I want to make it shorter. So let's see what happens. I'll watch it and cut it out if I need to. All right. We'll move on to another part of the video if I decide to cut this out.
Okay, I'm going to put my solar lens on. Shit. Damn it. So afraid of dropping it, I ain't even getting it on the threads. You can see how small it got. I don't know if you can see all them birds flying by. Well, there was a shitload of them that just flew by. Holy crap. There went another boat. Let's see if I can follow him. Or if he's just going to darken out.
Alright, I got this solar lens on here. I lost a little bit of my focus. So I'm actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and use this footage, but I'm actually going to, it's the end of the 15 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and restart the camera and try to get a better focus on it. And we'll see how that comes out. But you also notice how much faster this boat seems to be moving because he's closer and he's going more directly across my plane of, or my side of view, all right, my line of view.
Forget I got a solar lens on here. Zoom back. I bumped my tripod and I got it off level. I had it pretty level.
Alright, you see these rocks that are out there. They're actually much closer to me than they are the boat. Between those rocks and that boat, like I said, it's a compression, and that boat is a lot further away from those rocks than I am. So, I mean, again, you know, our eyes play tricks on us in a sense, that, you know, when we're looking out across a long distance of a flat, level playing field, you know, that last part out there is miles long. It's not just short distance there. It looked like the boat was real close to those rocks, but in all reality, that boat is miles away from them rocks because that little edge out there is a big compression of a couple of miles of water, all in that little strip.
Okay, I got to go to the sun here. So I'm not going to be able to follow this one. Let's see. .644, it's 6:13, I want to do a 25-minute time lapse, so I got a few minutes left. Actually, I think I'm just going to do a video. And it's getting hard to see this thing too, so alright, let's go back here. Actually, I do want to do something here. Get my camera level again. Okay, there's the main bird rack.
Okay, this is the main thing that I do out here. That's Bayport
Look, you can
bird
see
rack.
water behind it. Now this is the
And,
kicker right here.
We'll get back to that. But this is the kicker.
See
There
that bird
is
rack?
the north rack. That north rack is
That's
8
way out
miles
there.
away from me.
That's another one that
By my
I drove out to,
navigation
but
maps, and
I
there's
can't
even
seem to
a
get the
little
distance
sign
off of
to
my
the right of it, and that's actually when I went out there on
GPS.
my video,
But I'll try again.
crazy ass boat ride.
And there's
You
another
see
object
video
right
of
there, and
this,
I think that
and
might
you
be a
also see
sign.
that's further
And
behind it. I think I showed that sign.
There
And
should
I'm
be no
actually
way
even
that I'm
seeing
picking
that
up that
sign.
thing,
And
because
again,
it's only
my
10
camera's
feet
5
tall
foot off the water.
out there. When you
How
look
could I
at it in
even see that little
perspective,
sign out there
it probably
if,
is 10 feet tall. You're seeing 10 foot of it, 10, 11 foot of it.
if this thing is 8 miles away? I mean,
And you
I
shouldn't
still
be,
maybe just barely
I shouldn't even see
the
this
damn
sign right
tip
here.
top of it, but I'm seeing the
Okay.
whole bird rack there.
And then I'm going to
And you can also see
see
how
these two
these
guys here
rocks
fishing.
that I just
I seen this
passed
other boat
almost look like they were going over the horizon, or
earlier.
that horizontal visual
There he is.
line there. Now look at this boat. You can see that whole boat, the
I cannot
whole
see that
end
boat
of
with my
boat
eyes.
in the water. And this is a little bit different from the last boat I just showed, or the boat that vanished, because you are literally seeing the whole boat in the water. And look how far away this boat is when I zoom back. And again, this was a boat that I could not see with my naked eye. I'm always looking over the top of my camera, trying to see if I can see it. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of times I cannot see the boat that I'm actually filming. Which means that they should have already gone over the curve, but I can follow these
You
things
tell
for
me
10,
usually you
15
cannot,
minutes
my camera
before
cannot
they actually
render
get
this
just
because
so
of all the
small
atmospheric
that
conditions.
they're no longer visible. I show
But
it
here
in
it is right there.
several of my videos on these days that the visibility is good and the mirroring isn't as bad. And believe me, there's still some mirroring going on out there. And that's just something that is
And
a
I'm going to go
natural
back
occurrence. And you
to this
know, if
bird
you read
rack.
the definition of mirage, one of them says, "Don't believe your eyes, or it's a hallucination."
See that
Well,
hard water line? Usually
I don't
all
know
that is
about you, but my
mirroring.
camera does
Mirroring the
not do
sky.
drugs, so it cannot be hallucinating. Uh, And I think I go back here right there. Look at those rocks, how they're sticking. Actually, they were almost sticking above the horizon.
That's
But this is
impossible.
the kicker.
Refraction isn't
And this
explaining
is
it.
what made me go out and buy
Look at even that sign.
these
Way
maps.
out there.
And I see these other little signs
There's
that are
a
way out
Bayport
there
bird rack.
that just blow my mind. It's like, how in the world am I seeing these? And you see them in a
There's that boat I
in
was
this
following
video,
earlier.
you'll see other little things way back in the back. I'm not sure if it's a sign, whether it's a boat
Come on, people,
way
wake
back
up.
there, a smaller boat or whatnot. But again, look at these
In Florida, we got cold air today.
Of the water. Again, a lot of times, everything is mirroring in that area.
It's not as humid.
Even the bird rack.
So look at these.
I mean, you can see how
I'm
well
able to
you can
get
see the Bayport
one hell of
bird
a
rack
view out
without
there,
being
guys.
mirrored. And a lot of my videos show it just doing nothing but mirroring.
Yeah, I'm even getting that crab trap right there
Weird ass look
on
to
that
it.
edge.
Now, even look at that water out there. Look how calm the water is there, but out there it looks like it's like ripply rough. Well, think about the edge of the moon. You know, when you see the edge of the moon, how it has that ripple
Look at
to
that
it.
boat in
Well, this is
perspective. It's
almost
just
the
gotten
same
smaller.
effect.
It hasn't gone over no
And
curve, and
again,
it should have went over a curve a long time
my
ago.
camera can render and resolve
Hmm.
only to a certain point. And, it's usually just above that visible water line is where that problem occurs with any camera. It just can't get a resolve. And partly, I think that's because of that edge is like that mirror. It just doesn't allow the camera to render it. Um, so again, let your eyes be the judge. Believe yourself. Believe what you see. And look at those maps I showed in the beginning. Like I said, I'm not out here to deceive me. And the main person that I wanted to prove this to was numero uno, and that is myself. Um, Again, this
Crazy
boat is
shit,
not
people.
visible with my naked eye. So, it didn't go over the curve. But people say, well, it will eventually. No, it just gets so damn small. It just like mashes into the water. It gets compressed into the water. It's all a compression. Um, can there be some concavity to water? Yeah, I think so. When you got jets flying, they talk about a downdraft. If you get the wind blowing like almost directly down on the water, it can create a cavern or a indentation in the water. The waves, the tides, as they roll in and roll out, it can create a little curvature out there in the water, but not curved down. It's curving convex or concave, not convex. Okay, convex would mean that I would not see this boat. And again, look at all these lines in the water. And this is why I say sometimes that first little line you see there, that's where the mirroring begins. Normally, this boat would be floating in the air. Look at some of my previous videos. I'm telling you, I got boats that float in the air that are bigger than this. And people want to say that it's oh, that's a mirage. Well, I want to see one of these globe believers show me like a car going over a hill and refraction pulls it up from behind the hill. I want to see anybody show me a video of this occurring. Um, you know, because it doesn't occur. They give you this excuse why you can see this boat because refraction or some invisible magical force is pulling it up from behind the water. Yeah. Go ask Bill Nye. I mean, Bill Nye knows it all. He's got a video out there showing you this boat going over the curvature of water because there's a curve out there. No, there ain't a curve out there in that freaking water. He uses a damn model that has a curve built into it on plastic. It ain't water. If it was water, it'd have been flat. And then, just if you watch his video of his boat going over, you see the sail tip forward. You don't see that even when I went to the East Coast and filmed some big ships going out. I never saw that boat tilt forward or show any kind of bending forward, tilting forward as it went over the curve. It was perfectly straight up and down the whole time, and it just vanished due to perspective, or it could even vanish due to what they call atmospheric magnification. It's possible. It happens. Go out and watch a lot of sunsets. One day you might see the sun look bigger than other days. Why is that? Oh, well, the Earth spun closer to the Earth this one particular day, possibly. Again, look at this buoy marker. How part of it gets blocked out and then how part of it shows. Well, that's what's happening out there with that boat. Same thing. It's getting so small now you can still see the ass end of the boat. You can still see the back deck of the boat. It's not underwater, but it's just getting so small that eventually when it gets to a certain point, it will kind of look like it vanished, but it's those waves that are blocking it out. Look at these other buoy markers right there in the screen. Look how it bobs up and down, how the waves kind of cover part of it up. These are those little details that I try to show people, or point out to people, try to help them understand. Again, normally I would not see this boat going out this far anyhow. Look at a lot of my first videos I ever did. Man, I went out there on hot summer days and that mirage and that mirroring was so damn heavy. Uh, Man, these boats wouldn't get very far away before they would start
Taking
mirroring and
pictures.
floating in the sky. That water is a mirror. And it doesn't matter if it's rough out there. It could be the roughest day whatsoever. And the mirroring occurs due to the angle. The angle of light hitting the water and the angular resolution of my camera, how it can resolve the water. This particular day, it's actually resolving the water and not mirroring. But there still is a little bit of a mirroring line right out there at the edge of this boat. Now, how can this boat, too, ride that same water line? It keeps riding the same water line, but it just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. That's because that water line keeps going and going and going. Don't forget, I told you that there's miles and miles in that little strip. Just take like 1 little centimeter underneath that boat, and that's probably a mile long. I mean, it could even be longer. But again, these are why I do my observations, and this is why on certain days, uh, I stressed that this boat would be mirroring, it would be distorted. I would never see this boat getting out that far on a hot summer day. And certain days, I guess, when we get some dry air that comes across that's a little cooler, because it was actually a little chilly on this day. It wasn't cold, but it was chilly. I'm a Floridian. Anything that gets like down to 70 degrees is kind of chilly to me.
All right,
60s is cold,
I'm
50s
going
is
for the sun
freezing.
right now.
And if it gets into the 30s here, I look
So I gotta
like an
shut it
Eskimo.
off and get
But
ready to
again, just look at the
videotape the
appearance of
sun.
that water, how it's reacting. Um, and then, there's water beyond it. But like I said, that water beyond this is actually mirroring the sky. Um, but here's this boat. Look, you can still see the back deck of the boat. I'm telling you, it's just gotten smaller, smaller. And the smaller it gets, the more it seems to just blend right into the water
That's
itself. It's
crazy
not
shit.
gone over no curvature. Where is the damn curve, people? Ain't one. It's flat. That's why they call it sea level. Man, I talked to a lot of people. I've talked to even some merchant marines, and they even say, man, they always thought there was something funny about the water. Yeah, it's flat. All right, damn it, go ahead and get yourself some damn popcorn going, because I'm going to go ahead and put this sun part in here. Yeah, it's going to be a long one, but it also might be my last one for a while, people. I may need to take a big break from this. In this next part, too, there's a guy that I'm talking to. He's behind me. You can't really hear much of what he says, but you'll hear me talking. And these are basically my opinions. If you agree with me, great. Then you're probably pretty much awake to the bullshit that's going on within our government, causing wars around the world and whatnot. So, again, they're my opinions, but I think more and more people are starting to become aware of the deception that is put upon us as men. So I just thought it would be important to let you, listen to the conversation that I was having, or more or less one-sided, my side, that you'll hear more of than the other gentlemen's. But I think altogether, I think you'll get the picture of what I try to say. And you know, even look at the sun as I draw in closer to it, how it rises up. That's because it's not really going down over the curvature of Earth, but you know, everybody thinks it does. You know, the camera's perspective looks like it does, but I have a video where I explain that too, and you'd have to research Raleigh's criterion to understand that. All right, here we go to the original audio. Yep, politics and religion, bad to talk about.
Discuss it. It's unbelievable. Blame Trump for everything. What are you doing? Obama turned into...
Listen, the media gets you to believe in the belief system.
Exactly.
And you know how many people follow the media and believe every word that comes out of that television?
Yes.
That's what I call it, a television. Hell, I quit watching sports and everything because of it. I used to be a big boxing fan. Then I started realizing, man, look at this, man, he barely hit the guy and the guy goes out. You know, I mean, what's, you know, they show it from a different angle and you can tell he didn't even get hit. So, you know, the guy was bought out. You know, that way the next time they fight, they get bigger money. Just a big game. Yeah, big game they play with you. And today, hell, what do you believe? You know what I mean? You can hardly believe anything you see on that television. I mean, all these, I don't know, terrorists attack and whatnot. Sometimes I think they're all setups. They want to make this president look bad.
Well, they say that's what happened on 9/11. Bush knew that was happening.
Well, why do you think he was down here in Florida? Only, I mean, if you go and see or watch all of these different,
I've seen like the documentaries on it.
and yeah, the engineers.
Yeah.
They say that there's no way that those buildings could have fell at free fall speed the way that they did. And Building 7 was the key, because Building 7 just had a few fires in it, but it dropped like a demolition.
It was pre-staged.
And who was that? Something Goldstein or Goldstein, Larry Goldstein, I think. He said, pull it, pull it. Well, what demolition crew would go inside of a burning building with explosives to set it up to demolish the building? That's not going to happen. So the detonations already had to be in the building for that to occur.
I believe that. I believe it was all set up prior to those planes hitting.
Yeah, they even showed some of the beams, the I-beams at 9/11 after they were trying to clean it up.
That were already cut.
Cut on a 45-degree angle. You know, and then they talk about that nanothermite. It's, you know, they can put that thermite on a car engine and it'll burn a hole right through the block like butter. Just absolutely amazing. They say that they, the person that was in charge of the security at 9/11 was Melvin Bush.
How coincidental is that, right?
He was also had a job with United Airlines for the security there too. It was like the plane that supposedly hit the World Trade Center didn't look like a passenger airline. It was a gray plane. You know, people say it was a hologram covering up a missile. And they have, I mean, I don't know if you've seen any technology on holograms today, what they can do with holograms. They can actually make it look like a big dragon coming up out of the water out here, and all it is a hologram.
but you'd see it as a dragon. It's crazy. They did that, I think it was in Japan, where they did this show out over the water where they had this dragon coming up out of the water. And they did another one inside of a gymnasium where a whale comes up out of the floor and just splashes back into the floor with, you know, and it looked like water going everywhere, but it was just a gymnasium. Yeah, there's a guy named Ron Johnson on YouTube that has some really good videos about the 9/11.
Oh, he does?
Oh yeah. Some real killer videos about 9/11 that really make you think about, you know, was our government involved? Was it an inside job? I mean, who benefited from it? The military-industrial complex, of course, because they got to sell their war products, right? Well, you can't sell any war products if there's not a war going on. You got to create the war. How do you do it? Fake a terrorist attack.
Don't get me wrong, I think plenty of people died during 9/11 as a sacrifice.
No, I mean, I'm half and half on Trump.
Well, so am I.
But you know why I am? Because the media is so against him. I like him.
Same here.
But some of the stuff that he does, I'm sitting there going, you know, what the hell is your issue here? Why are you giving this organization all this money when you know it's bullshit? Always wonder about the issue with cancer too. You know, all this money that people donate to these cancer societies, you know, all they have to do is, I guess they could even go as low as like 10%. So they can pocket 90% and just give 10% to the cause. I think they already have cures for cancer, but the hell, they don't want us to have them. Hell no, they want you to die so you don't get your Social Security. They get to keep it. I have a customer of mine that she's like 92 years old, and she wants to will me her house because she has nobody to leave it to. And she worked for the government her whole life. But she's like, I'll be damned if I want them to have my house. She goes, and if I don't will it to somebody, the government will take it. I mean, it kind of hurts me in a sense because I don't really want this lady's house, but, you know, if it's going to wind up in the government hands and she's going to give it to me, which one would I pick? I'll take it then, you know. But I just kind of feel guilty about it in a sense. Wow, this is going to be one hell of a sunset.
What was that guy's name again? Ron Johnson?
Ron Johnson. Some really good videos, though. And I'm trying to think of the lady that wrote a book about dustification. God, why can't I think of her name? He brings her up on his channel, but she's totally changed her tune now. They got to her, you know. In other words, you keep opening that trap and we're going to close it for you. Like, you know, they've had people that have invented like carburetors that you get 100 miles to the gallon. Well, the oil companies go in and they buy his patent. They just take that patent and just throw it in a corner somewhere or burn it because they don't want you getting 100 gallons or 100 miles to the gallon. There was a guy that He invented a motor that ran off of water, and he proved it. Even it was on the news. They were all ranting and raving about it and everything, and the oil companies came in and wanted to buy him out, and he refused to. Well, right at this restaurant where they went to, all of a sudden he drops dead, but before he dies, he yells out, "I've been poisoned. They're killing me." Well, they didn't want people to have his patent. They don't want you to be able to run your vehicle off of water. Hell, they'd put the oil industry out of business. You know, people say, that's just a conspiracy. You know where the word conspiracy actually came from? From the CIA back in, was that 63 or 63 when President Kennedy got killed? You know, it all became a big conspiracy. So the word conspiracy was created by them to make you think that conspiracies are fake. They're not real. There's nothing to them, nothing about them. Wow, that is the weirdest sunset I think I've ever seen. Well, I got a solar filter on my camera. That's why it totally looks different. I've been waiting to do a sunset where it gets without all the clouds blocking it out before it gets to the water's edge.
The part that you seen where the sun looked like the bottom end of it was being drugged down was where, if I didn't have the solar filter on, it would have looked more like a, how should I put it? More like you would have seen that reflection coming off the water and the reflection coming up to meet it. Because there's more water out there. We just don't see it because, like I claimed, that the sky is, or the water just starts mirroring the sky. So it's a deception. Think about how a magician does his magic trick, you know, with lights and mirrors and angles. You know, this is what how a lot of illusionists do it. Also, you know, it's all camera trick, and this isn't camera trick, but you see how these edges of the sun are. They're more on an angle, and you will get to the point where it damn near resembles a pyramid in some cases. And this is what I try to expose and show people, how this light is just getting farther and farther away from us. It's not, that's not the sun. The sun is farther away. It's more at the top now. Now it's getting to the point where it's just going beyond our line of sight, so it vanishes. But look how the sky lights all back up afterward, and you see how that green is. That green flash, it wasn't really a flash, but you could see the green in it. You know, I've seen people show videos where it just kind of does a flash thing. But you know, this is what turned me into a flat earther. Now, I know this video is getting long, but I do have a little bit more to show, and then we'll go from there. I'm going to take the solar filter off right here and show you what the sky actually looks like at this time of day, or at this point of the supposed sunset. And I don't call it a sunset, I call it a sun departure, because the sun is just departing our line of sight. And that's what this is, line of sight. Has nothing to do with the curvature out there. Alright, well, on with my little video here, or my long video. And so far, I hope you enjoy it. Let's see if you like the rest of it. Okay, here's another part. And that's the Bill Watts rack. rock. You know, these racks usually mark rock areas that you know, boaters would normally run into. Now this point right here is almost exactly 1 mile from me. So, you know, you can get a little perspective of that water behind it and how far that water line actually goes. You know, I'm seeing objects way out there. And it's a pretty low tide, so you'll start seeing the channel markers that are in Hernando Beach Channel. Those are another mile or so away from, I think I figured it out. It's about 3 miles to that channel marker right there. And that bird rack is farther out of the channel, though. That bird rack is definitely not in the channel that those channel markers were. Now that's the one bird rack out there too that it may be Cutter's Rock. I'm not sure. And again, you got to think about perspective and how far away that is. It's gonna look like it's getting cut off. It's not the curvature of Earth. It's just how small it is. And again, it could be the atmospheric magnification. And line of sight, perspective, it all plays a role. The height of my camera, just like my my board test that I did, the lower I got to the board, the less of the plane that you see of the board, the surface of the board. And the only way to see more of that board is to rise higher. So if I was to have gone up another 20, 30 feet from my position, I probably would have seen a lot more of that bird rack. And it wouldn't be due to the fact that I'm looking over any curvature. It's just that I'm changing my line of sight and my angular resolution. And you know, look at you can see the top of that water there, how it's reacting. Okay, and that's what I like to try to catch, showing my videos. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of zoom over here to something, I think, or I don't know, maybe I'm adjusting my camera. Not quite sure what I'm doing, but as soon as my camera settles down here, look at how that water is reacting out there at the edge. And then again, here's objects that are way out there. You get a little dolphin that flips up there too. I see dolphins quite often in my videos. And actually, I think I'm going to try to follow this dolphin a little bit, or he's just going to keep rolling around out there. He's fishing, looking for some food. And I'm sure he's going to find plenty. When the water's shallow, the mullet don't have very far to go. But also look at that sign that's way out there, or possibly another bird rack that's just way the hell out there. I think that's probably a sign though. I see plenty of signs in that shape. But again, now if there was a lot of mirroring happening, I wouldn't even be able to see that sign. Even those poles sticking up there where airboat drivers will stop and put markers on these rocks so they don't hit them with their airboats while they're doing 90 miles an hour across the water. And then I just passed that one, it's like a corner turn for Bayport bird rack. And usually that thing, everything above it is mirroring. That's what's really strange. Is some days I can go out there and get this hellacious mirroring, and then other days I don't. Look at those rocks that was just back there. They were actually sticking above the horizon. Do you really think they're sticking above the horizon, or is it due to my angle of the water? Even that tree branch right there, normally everything behind it is not visible. I don't even get to see what's behind that branches of trees that are out there. And then here again is Bayport bird rack. And this is my main one that I film all the time. Again, I don't know why I'm bobbing all around. Maybe I'm trying to adjust the tripod. And again, my camera has not moved. It's still the 4.5, 5 feet off the water. I think the tide was coming in, so it was getting closer and closer to the rock. So my height changed as the tide rolls in. But I had gotten out there right around the low part of the tide, the last part of the low tide, when I actually got down on the bottom of the seawall and set my camera up. Again, you know, I'm actually sitting here waiting for these boats to go in front of the bird rack. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. Or actually, they go behind the bird rack, not in front of it. But a lot of times I'll wait and try to catch these. Now, when I was out there, you could count, I think, 6 slats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, 7, including the very top. And you can count all those slats. So this is 3 miles out. It should have been cut off well below it. I mean, I should not even see that opening gap at the very bottom. But you also see how there's a little distortion going on with it. Normally it's distorted so bad that it's just crazy. You can't, and the mirroring, it just, everything blends into each other when you have that heavy mirroring out there. And okay, here's one. Everybody wants to say mirage, mirage. Well, where's the mirage here? This is not a mirage. This is the bird rack setting in the water. And you can see the whole bird rack setting above. And then when these boats come by, these boats are not going just right behind the bird rack. They're probably a mile behind this bird rack, if not miles. So again, you know, you've got to understand that very edge right there. Even what's behind that bird rack, or what might not even look like it's behind the bird rack, that there's a lot of water back there, just in that tiny little strip of water. And you know, I'm always trying to make my point to people, and the only way I can do it is through observations. And this is what I do. This is my niche. I love doing observational videos. I've got a beautiful area that I film in. I'd like to find some more areas to film in, but this takes a lot of my time. You know, a lot of my free time, a lot of my spare time, a lot of my work time. I've neglected a lot of my yard work. I've got to start catching up on it, and that's why I say I need to take a step back from the flat earth for a while. But I wanted to put out this one last video. Maybe I'll you know, throw in one every now and then, but maybe the stars, the sun, the moon, or something. But I'm really, you know, going to step back from doing a lot of observations, and I'm going to try to come up with some experiments to do that I think will, well, they might be good, they might not be, but we'll find out as I do them. I've got some ideas. It is going to take me a little bit of money to do it, so be patient. I don't ask for any help. I don't want no help. Don't ask to send me money or anything. I will not accept it. I just do these for myself. But I like to share them with people, and I have no problem sharing my work with people. If they want to use it, feel free to use it. You want to give me credit? Great. I'll take the credit for my work, but it's not necessary, because my most important thing is getting the word out, the message out, the observational proof out, and you know, let people decide for themselves. Let them do their own research, and and let it go from there. You know, heck, I see something going across the water right there, but it's so far back. What the hell was that? Excuse me. Wow, I didn't even see that before. I just noticed that. And if that was a boat, really? Interesting, interesting. Now, there's some boats coming up here, and it's actually going to be two boats, and they're kind of trying to outrun each other, but one's going a little bit of angle away from the other one. So, you know, these boats are not close together. They're probably well away from each other. There might even be a mile away from each other or a half a mile, but they're not real close to each other. So just pay attention to this too. I think this would be important to watch. I mean, you see this boat here, he's got his lights on. And you see in perspective to that channel marker that's close to me, how small that boat actually looks. And that channel marker is, I don't know, maybe 10 foot tall at the most. So that boat is way taller than that channel marker, but look how small it looks. And I love it that he's got his lights on out there, because it really kind of helps us see the whole ass end of that boat still up out of the water. And it's just, the boat looks small. The boat looks tiny, so the back deck is going to look tiny compared to if it was up close. You know, everything's going to just get bigger. And this is interesting too. Like I say, that this tree that sits out there, it's been out there for months and months and months and months. It blew in on a storm. Look at how it blocks out even the boat, because it's closer. Perspective again. And also, most of the time, I only see water up to the edge of that, and everything behind it is mirrored. So that's my proof that this water has a miraging or a mirroring effect. And within that mirroring effect, you can have atmospheric magnification. So again, we have to take in the magnification into consideration too in my observations, which I do. Again, I've seen a lot of sunsets where one day I go out there and the sun looks huge compared to other days. Why is that? Because there's more atmospheric, more evaporated water in the air, which will, again, tend to make it look larger. And when there's less, it looks smaller. Again, now you can see how these boats are getting so far out of my range, I can hardly render these boats. I can hardly render the edge. Look at the edge just above that water. Look at how it's like it's almost out of focus because these boats are so far away from me. I mean, you've seen it a little while ago. It was much better. And again, if it was mirroring, look at some of my other videos. All you'd see is the tip top of the mast of the one boat. And you probably wouldn't even see this boat with lights on it because of that mirroring blockage. It's the mirroring seems to cause like a blind, a blockage, and you don't get to see it. Because I've got video of boats just like the one with the mask sticking up, to where all you can see is the mask, but they're actually bigger. So the boat's actually closer, but I'm seeing a lot less of the boat. And you can go through all my videos all you want, look at them, compare them, and you'll see how things change and how much different it is with these things. And I'll tell you, I never, you know, I don't want people to believe me. I want them to go out and do their own observations, their own research. Do your own thing. Find your own little niche. And, you know, just follow your instincts. Follow your senses. Let your senses guide you. I think that's one big important thing, is letting your senses guide you to where you want to be. Now, look at these two boats. They're almost side by side now. But again, like I said, look how far away they are from that bird rack. But what are they riding on? They're riding on water. You can still see the ass end of that boat. It's just so small that that's all you're going to see of the rear end of that boat is just that little sliver. And then you can kind of see how the waves are kind of lapping over it and starting to hide it. And there's another little object right in the center of the screen that's way out there. Have no idea what it is, but I shouldn't see that. I should not see it. That thing's so far out there. It should be well beyond the curvature of Earth, people. There's no curve out there. It's just due to perspective, your angular resolution. My camera can't even resolve it. So again, you know, this is two boats right here, just side by side, or looking, appearing to be side by side. But I guarantee you, these boats would not drive that close to each other, no matter how you look at it. Now, here's that kicker. Here's that other bird rack way out there. That's the North Rock or the North Rack. And again, it's perspective-wise, that's the whole rack. You got to think, how small would something look like at 8 miles away? That's it. That's the whole rack sticking up out there. That's just not just the tip top of it. And besides that, at my height, it should be like 18 feet, I think, or I can't remember if I did 6 foot or if I did 5 foot, but it should be well below the curvature, and I shouldn't even see any part of it. I shouldn't see nothing. The thing should be well below it because it doesn't stand up 18 feet out of the water. That thing is 12 foot at the most out of the water. And you were seeing a heck of a lot more than 12 foot or 2 foot or anything like that. You were seeing the whole bird rack in perspective. It looks small because it is small, because it's far away. Something close will look big. Something far will look small. Like right here, watch how these rocks sticking out become like little mountains, blocking out what's farther back there. Again, perspective. Look at this little sign that's close to me here. This is one of those weed signs. Blocks out the whole boat. Why? Because that's the comparison in size. That's perspective. One's further out than the other. Look at these things. Look at these boats. Unbelievable. I should not see them. They're so small. But I'm sure I will get some Glober, or I don't even like the name Glober. I will get some globe believers that will come on and argue with me and tell me that these are well below, you know, they're going over the curvature of Earth. And that just means they're going by the belief system that we all were taught as children. Again, here, I'm going to zoom back, and I cannot see those boats out there. I can't even see the lights of those boats out there, people. So, you know, again, I tell people, don't take my word for it. Go out and do your own observations. There's a lot of things to research in regards to flat Earth and why we see things that appear to be going over a curve. And they're just appearing to be. They're definitely not going over any curvature. As long as I've been following these boats, they should have went well below the curvature already. They should have been done. I mean, I shouldn't even see these boats. They're so far out there, but here you go. You get your zoom camera out, and there it is. There's the boat. Now again, what's blocking the bottom hull? The waves. The waves that I can resolve with my camera is blocking it out. It's a tough one to explain. Look into Raleigh's criterion too. That plays a big role in what we're seeing with the sunset, or the sun departure, as I like to call it. It's just a sun departure. Now you even see this other boat starting to turn on some lights out there. You know, the shrimp boats will have the big bright lights on them. Crab boats, sometimes they don't light up the decks like the shrimp boats do. But the crab boats will, when they start picking their crab traps up, they'll turn on their lights. But even look how small it is in comparison to this channel marker that's close to me that I'm zoomed in on. It could block out both those boats with no problem. Again, that's perspective, angular resolution, resolving an image at the edge. You know, the farther out it gets. You know, our eyes just can't even resolve something at a certain degree, at a certain angle. But here these boats are just cruising along, and I can pretty much still see that whole boat in the background, or the one in the rear. Why that lighted boat, he seems to be turning away, so he's getting harder and harder to see. Yep. See that one boat, the bigger boat, past him because he's further out there, or he's changed directions, and that also is kind of deceiving too. Well, again, I hope you liked my video. This is the best I could do with what I have. You know, I might use these maps, these navigation maps, for more proof in the future, and maybe go through and pick out a bunch of my videos that show these bird racks at 8 miles, and these other racks that are even further out there. Maybe I can piece them together with little parts and pieces and show you them. But go back and look at my, I think I called it my crazy ass boat ride video, and you'll see where I took my flats boat, out to all these bird racks, and we filmed them, we took pictures of them. I think that'll give you a little bit of idea how far these things are out. And one day I'm gonna actually, it has to be a nice calm day, I'm wanting to take my cameras out to these bird racks and mount them on the bird rack themselves, so I can film back to shore and even film further offshore, and quite possibly maybe even try to do a sunset from one of them. Okay, so that's a couple experiments I want to do. But you know, again, this is my niche, this is my thing, this is what I like doing, but I do need to take a break away from it and just think of some ideas to do, think of some experiments to do, maybe do them. And you know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a computer whiz. I got very little computer skills. I'm fortunate enough to even just get them out here on the internet or on YouTube and let people watch them. All right, well, like, subscribe, share, use. Give me credit, don't give me credit, I don't care. Just get the word out. We live in a plane of existence, and we need to find truth. Have a good day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at.